bare metal servers. So I want to dig right in. A single tenant physical server, okay? Bare metal server. These can form the base of a secure, powerful, and very stable digital infrastructure. Many of the potential shortcomings associated with a shared virtual environment are non-factors in the bare metal environment. So, bare metal virtualization offers an uncompromising experience. Resources are more readily available, network latency is minimized for better performance, and the tenant enjoys root access. So bare metal is actually highly customizable, and the tenant may optimize a server based on their individual needs. So going a little deeper, a bare metal server is a physical computer specifically designed to run dedicated servers without any interruptions for extended periods. It's highly stable, durable, and reliable. Bare metal servers are a single-tenant environment, meaning that a single server's physical resources is not going to be shared between two or more tenants. Now, because of this physical separation, bare metal servers are free of that noisy neighbor effect that haunts virtual environments. One significant benefit of this isolation is performance predictability. So thanks to this, bare metal servers feature the most stable environment, making it perfect for processing really huge volumes of data. Some other significant benefits include direct access to the server and the ability to leverage all underlying hardware architectures. We're going to talk about that in a minute. If you provision a virtual machine, VM, you get a guest OS sitting on top of a hypervisor sitting on top of your physical hardware. So as a user, you would only have access to the guest OS and the management interface used to create the VM. You would not have direct access to the physical hardware. But on the other hand, you've got full access to the underlying architecture with a bare metal server. The benefit here is that you have more options available when you're creating your own platform to host a service or application. Now, this is going to lead us to another critical point. Bare metal servers do not require the use of several layers of software, unlike the virtual environment, which has at least one additional layer of software, right? A Type 1 hypervisor. Now, all this means that there is one less layer of software between you and your physical hardware in everyday use. Hence, you have and can expect better performance. Now, you got to remember, though, that bare metal tenants can create virtual machines on top of bare metal in a fashion similar to a virtualized environment. See, bare metal is like having your own house. You can customize it any way you want. You don't have to deal with any noisy neighbors. In contrast, a public cloud multi-tenant virtualized environment is like renting in a really large apartment building. The neighbor's kids drive you crazy with their yelling. There's not much you can do about the strange smell in the hallway, etc., etc. Won't even get into those details. Now, all environments, virtualized or bare metal, are based on physical hardware. So even virtualized environments, for instance, the public cloud, possess physical hardware underneath. Now, the term bare metal is used mainly to differentiate a physically dedicated server from a virtualized environment and modern cloud hosting forms. Within a data center, bare metal servers are the ones not being shared between multiple clients. So it actually becomes really important to remember here that even a virtualized environment has physical hardware underneath. But the shared hosting deployment model that is characteristic for virtual environments differentiates so that end user works with virtual resources, thus lacking access to the bare metal level. You get it. So, the single tenant of a bare metal server has root level access. It's available for additional software options, which are not possible with bare metal hypervisor. So then why would you choose a bare metal server? Bare metal dedicated servers are great for small to medium businesses looking for cost-effective hosting solutions that can quickly automate and scale their resource allocation. Now, many experts say that the use of bare metal servers is in decline compared to other hosting options. However, this type of server remains an extremely popular option, especially in many industries. The unique characteristics of the platform allow for an elite level of performance, power, and security. Now, back in 2016, the market for bare metal servers could have been evaluated at approximately 1.3 billion US dollars. But by 2025, it's expected to reach, in US dollars again, 26.21 billion. A lot of money, big market. And the source, by the way, is Grandview Research. So industries that traditionally rely on dedicated hosting solutions and co-location, these are going to be the banking and financial services industry, healthcare, and government. Additionally, bare metal is perfect for critical high-intensity workloads such as business intelligence or database apps. Render farms and media encoding operations are examples of projects that use this option rather than virtualized servers because of the heightened performance levels. Innovative software development companies use bare metal dedicated servers as an affordable way to test and launch products. Now, industries with the highest needs for data security, world-class performance, and precise data operations are also the ones most likely to use bare metal systems. As the demand for storage grows alongside big data, this market will continue to grow with it. Large enterprises within these sectors are expected to drive the majority of usage. Now, up until 2016, the SMB market was a much more significant consumer of the bare metal infrastructure. The largest driver of growth over the entire market is expected to be advertising and emerging technological advancements. When using bare metal, well, you don't actually have to compete with other users on the same system for resources. You follow the drift. So all users can get high performance from this type of server. A dedicated server can deal with more significant workload than similar virtual machines in most cases. So this makes dedicated hosting best for users who need top levels of performance. Now, compared to other types of dedicated servers, bare metal is often easier to manage due to being in a data center. Most providers offer a range of setup options that can be customized to match your exact needs. Managing a server can be challenging and time-consuming. I don't know if I need to tell you that, but there it is. So, having a third party manage your server for you can actually be a benefit for many companies. Managed servers, though, are also more cost-effective than on-site servers. See, data centers are more streamlined than in-house setups, so they can offer more at a lower cost. They also provide other benefits, such as a higher bandwidth connection. Most data centers also offer services that are very valuable to IT teams. Some examples of this would be guaranteed uptime, 24/7 support, regular security audits. But better yet, getting these services from a third party means not having to hire in-house staff to perform them. If you're used to being in-house staff, well, just take note. That's why you're learning new skills, right? Moving right along. So companies are obviously taking advantage of bare metal infrastructure to employ new technologies in many exciting ways. For instance, containers bring another level of performance capability to the bare metal environment. Running containers on top of bare metal servers provide an alternative to virtual machines, or VMs. Right, so containers surpass VMs in resource usage, as every VM has its minimal overhead, while containers are going to use less memory. So this makes containers on top of bare metal the perfect environment for developing apps. Large enterprises are beginning to experiment with concepts such as machine learning and AI. So this type of computing emphasizes big data, mathematics, analytics, as well as visualization. So considering GPUs are the driving force of deep learning, bare metal's data crunching and GPU capabilities make it the perfect platform for these kinds of things. Now, understanding the basics of bare metal is going to help tremendously when you're trying to make sense of these new developments. Did I really need to say that? Yes, I did, because now you're paying attention. See, organizations can run bare metal servers from in-house data centers, a co-location center, or partner with a managed service provider to lease a server. See, so each of these options is going to have advantages as well as maybe some drawbacks, but leasing a bare metal server is going to be the most cost-effective solution for small to medium-sized organizations. Now, deploying leased servers is fairly quick nowadays, and most IT service providers offer pre-configured dedicated servers that are ready for any specialized workload. Oh, yeah? Yeah. For instance, secure bare metal servers based on Intel Xeon scalable processors are cost-effective enterprise-grade solutions ready for any intensive workload you can throw at them. So the average bare metal server takes a little longer to implement than a virtualized environment, which can be spun up in a few minutes, really. So it can take anywhere between several hours to even up to a couple of days to provision a server, as there's obviously more customization that's going to take place. Even though provisioning and maintaining a bare metal server may take some more time, it all makes sense once its performance reliability proves to be a game changer for your organization. See, servers are accessed through a private network, and the tenant interacts with the device through remote desktop access. A private network connection is established via a VPN by connecting to a designated endpoint. Now, if you want to connect to a Linux-based server, you can do so through a secure shell tunnel, SSH. See, this way you can access a server as if it were physically on your workstation. For enhanced security, remote desktop access software encrypts on both the server's end and the user end. Now, initially, you're going to access the server as the root user. That's the almighty super user, right? Who can do anything on the server. That's why that is. If you want to limit the danger of accidental changes, you're going to want to create a non-root user. Now, there is a general belief out there that operating bare metal servers requires a large team of IT professionals. And while it may be true for an on-premises solution, it may not necessarily be the case when it comes to co-locating and leasing, you see. Managed service providers offer a full range of additional services to help you run your online business. So this means that you can simplify your operations by outsourcing IT work to a service provider and focus on your business goals. For example, if you lease a fully managed dedicated server to resell hosting, you can concentrate on selling your services while your IT service provider handles everything else. So the extent to which you participate in managing the server may vary, but generally, you are going to need to cover the following. Regularly update the OS and perform software patches. This is what protects your bare metal server from malicious attacks. Also, run the Check Root Kit, RK Hunter, and ClamAV server application tools regularly. And you're going to need to monitor key operational metrics of the server, the switches, the firewalls, all of it, and set up early thresholds and alarms that will notify you when a threshold's been crossed. You need to regularly change your server passwords, including administrative users and root passwords. Now, proper management of the bare metal environment is going to include the ability to customize it across borders without considerable lead time. Now, these are pieces of hardware, software, that prohibit unwanted traffic, right? So a user would set up a firewall rule to restrict traffic by service port or destination IP address or IP protocol. So the goal here is to know which ports you need to open and for what purpose. Now, unfortunately, there really isn't a one-size-fits-all solution, so each instance might just require a unique approach to traffic management. Now, operational management includes a myriad of tasks, such as hardware replacement, domain name services, bare metal backup and recovery, migration of data, and all that kind of good stuff. Most enterprise-grade service providers offer a client portal that grants clients insight into their resources, as well as an opportunity to scale easily through a portal interface or an API. Now, if a large number of your organization's members interact with your bare metal infrastructure, you will definitely need to create role-based segregation of duties and permissions. All right, so let's have a look at some of the initial requirements. So here we go. First, every organization will need to be aware of how they plan on using bare metal. So you got to consider your use case. It'll be a database server, network device, or application server. Do you intend to use it for dev, QA, or production? Every unique case needs different configurations. And if you don't do your research initially, you're certainly not going to find the right solution. So when you define your requirements, then you can start thinking about the configuration. So there are off-the-shelf configurations that are created for specific workloads. Most managed service providers offer servers pre-configured for data crunching, heavy graphical processing, and for other types of specialized workloads. Even if your organization requires a particular configuration, most sales teams will help you procure the right bare metal server. So this is one significant benefit of bare metal servers. See, the entire concept of bare implies a clean slate, meaning that, well, you can use the server's full potential. You pick the underlying relational database software like MySQL, the operating system, for instance, CentOS, Microsoft Server 2016, Ubuntu, the list goes on. The control panel add-ons, whether you have root access, and you're going to be in full control, right? So you have the option of doing a custom install or setting up your own hypervisor to create a virtualized environment. So all these options can be modified later after your initial deployment, but you got to be aware that these kind of modifications are going to require data deletion. So bare metal, it's going to take a little more time and certainly more know-how to implement than cloud hosting. It can also be less flexible, though, when expanding. So since you're tied to the hardware, any problems can have a huge impact. Cloud-based solutions circumvent this by not linking the server instance to any single physical machine. So compared to cloud hosting, dedicated servers are most cost-effective when you are using its resources to their fullest. You hear me? The benefits are often beyond the needs of businesses. So usually it's typically best to opt for a cloud server. All I'm saying is, do your research. Step number 1. So the next step would be selecting the server location, right? So in today's fast-paced environment, delivering the speediest result is obviously crucial. Google's DoubleClick conducted a study in 2016 on how slow loading times impact business. They reported that 53% of the mobile site visits are abandoned if the pages take longer than 3 seconds to load. Think about your own attention span, right? Response time has a lot to do with location, and typically you're going to want to avoid data passing through multiple processing points before service delivery. Now, regardless of whether you lease or opt to physically place your servers in a co-location center, just carefully pick the right service provider. Start by identifying your user's geographical location. See, if you're running a global business, obviously the right thing to do would be to find a global provider with multiple presence points. Now, you remember our friend RAID. The hard disk drive failure is going to be the most common issue you will encounter in your server setup. Moreover, if you opt for a managed service, meaning that it's not your task to replace the disk drive, you certainly wouldn't want to lose precious data. So a redundant array of independent disks, RAID. Redundant system that uses multiple hard drives to store your precious data. So this means that data is written to all drives in the array, allowing for a hard drive to fail without losing any data. RAID is used for critical workloads, where failure and data loss will be catastrophic and detrimental to an organization. But you got to bear in mind, RAID's objective is to reduce downtime, but it does not, and I repeat, does not eliminate need for backups. Why don't we have a quick refresher at the RAID levels, yeah? RAID 0. Data is chunked and split between drives using striping, speeding up writing and reading speeds. This setup does not offer any protection, so if one drive fails, all the data is lost. The usable capacity is equal to the total physical capacity. RAID 1. This setup uses a process called mirroring. It writes data to both hard disks so you don't lose the data even if one disk fails. Now, bear in mind that this halves your storage capacity. So it means that if you provision 20 terabytes of storage space, you have 10 terabytes of usable capacity. RAID 5. Data is written across all drives using a minimum of 3 with additional information called parity. So if any hard disk fails, data can be retrieved using that extra bit of information. The usable capacity will be the total storage less one hard drive. RAID 5 takes performance hits during a write phase, so it's actually not recommended for database servers. RAID 1.0, RAID 10, RAID 1+0. Anyway, it's a combination of RAID 1 and RAID 0. Data is organized as stripes across several hard drives, and then the striped disks are mirrored. The usable capacity is 50% of the total physical capacity. Now, the virtualized environment is the primary alternative to the bare metal server. Many differences dictate the usefulness of each environment for business, though. So let's define virtual machines and then have a look at some of the most important distinctions between the two different infrastructures. So when we're talking of cloud instances, each virtual machine is a part of a shared hosting environment with multiple tenants. So for example, each tenant may have one virtual machine on a single shared physical server. Now in modern deployments, however, virtualized environments can also be dedicated, meaning that there is segregation of hardware. So for example, private cloud hosting is one example of highly customizable single-tenant cloud service. Now, generally, VMs are easily scalable and budget-friendly, but they lack the computing power of bare metal servers. See, a bare metal server outpaces virtual machines in performance, all else being equal, because there is only a single tenant on a dedicated server. That tenant has access to all the physical resources without having to share anything. A virtual server may separate clients, but those clients share optimized resources on the same physical server. So the presence of a hypervisor prohibits software that can take advantage of architectural perks of the physical hardware, and this places bare metal users in a unique position to make far better use of those specific hardware pieces. So now when we get into security, comparing that to public cloud instances, server colocation and bare metal servers have heightened security because of their isolation away from other clients. So in the world of multi-tenant virtualized servers, data streams infected by malware may affect the distribution of resources across the entire server. Although other data streams are quarantined from the infection, the neighbors may still suffer the effects of redirected resource loads. Yeah? So resource usage on bare metal servers is highly predictable compared to virtualized environments. So if you plan on crunching data or running apps with unexpected usage spikes, getting a bare metal server is going to be your best bet. Crunching data in the cloud will most certainly get very expensive, as you would have to provision vast capacities to maintain predictable performance. So a single tenant exercises more control over a single physical server than a group of people does in the cloud, right? The bare metal environment allows a client to fully control and predict bandwidth, memory, usage, and, well, any other important web hosting aspects, for instance. Virtual machines are far easier to scale, as additional resources can be provisioned in a matter of minutes. So this really means that with bare metal servers, you need to plan, right? It's more challenging to scale and adapt to current requirements. So another thing to consider is that a single VM doesn't offer resources for some use cases. Now, for example, a single VM may be limited to 64 gigabytes of RAM, 2 terabytes of storage, and 8 virtual CPUs, right? So in contrast, a bare metal solution may offer the maximum resource limit of the latest technology. Well, would you look at the time? Haha, yeah, we got to wrap it up here. You're now nearly an expert on bare metal servers, but obviously the most important thing is to make sure you do your research. All right, so check out the next video. I'll see you there.